Reading passage 1. You should spend about 20 minutes on questions 1 to 13, which are based on reading passage 1 below. The secret of staying young. Fidel dentata. Fidel dentata, a native ant of the southeastern United States, isn't immortal, but scientists have found that it doesn't seem to show any signs of aging. Old worker ants can do everything just as well as the youngsters, and their brains appear just as sharp. We get a picture that these ants really don't decline, says Sabel Giraldo, who studied the ants for her doctoral thesis at Boston University. Such age-defying feats are rare in the animal kingdom. Naked mole rats can live for almost 30 years and stay fit for nearly their entire lives. They can still reproduce even when old, and they never get cancer. But the vast majority of animals deteriorate with age just like people do. Like the naked mole rat, ants are social creatures that usually live in highly organized colonies. It's this social complexity that makes P. dentata useful for studying aging in people, says Giraldo, now at the California Institute of Technology. Humans are also highly social, a trait that has been connected to the healthier aging. By contrast, most animal studies of aging use mice, worms, or fruit flies, which all lead much more isolated lives. In the lab, P. dentata worker ants typically live for about 140 days. Giraldo focused on ants at four age ranges: 20 to 22 days, 45 to 47 days, 95 to 97 days, and 120 to 122 days. Unlike all previous studies, which only estimated how old the ants were, her work tracked the ants from the time and pupa became adults, so she knew their exact ages. Then she put them through a range of tests. Giraldo watched how well the ants took care of the young of the colony, recording how often each ant attended to carried and fed them. She compared how well 20-day-old and 95-day-old ants followed the telltale scent that the insects usually leave to mark a trail to food. She tested how ants responded to light and also measured how active they were by counting how often ants in a small dish walked across a tin. And she experimented with how ants react to live prey. A tethered fruit fly. Giraldo expected the old ants to perform poorly in all these tasks, but the elderly insects were all good caretakers and trail followers. The 95-day-old ants could track the scent even longer than their younger counterparts. They all responded to light well, and the older ants were more active. And when it came to reacting to prey, the older ants attacked the poor fruit fly just as aggressively as the young ones did, flaring their mandibles or pulling at the fly's legs. Then Giraldo compared the brains of 20-day-old and 95-day-old ants, identifying any cells that were close to death. She saw no major differences with age, nor was there any difference in the location of the dying cells, showing that age didn't seem to affect specific brain functions. Ants and other insects have structures in their brains, cell mushroom bodies, which are important for processing information, learning, and memory. She also wanted to see if aging affects the density of synaptic complexes within these structures, regions where neurons come together. Aging, the answer was no. Again, the answer was no. What was more, the old ants did not experience any drop in the levels of either serotonin or dopamine, brain chemicals, whose decline often coincides with aging. In humans, for example, a decrease in serotonin has been linked to Alzheimer's, Alzheimer's disease. This is the first time anyone has looked at both behavioral and neural changes in these ants so thoroughly, says Giraldo, who recently published the findings in the proceedings of the Royal Society, Bee Scientists, have looked at some similar aspects in bees, but the results of recent bee studies were mixed. Some studies showed age-related declines, which biologists call senes, what is this? Sense, S-C-E-N-E, sense. Sen, sense. Sense, and others did not. The what's very strange word, senescence. Uh, senescence, and others did not. For now, the study raises more questions that it answers, Giraldo says, including how P. dentata stays in such good shape. Also, if the ants don't deteriorate with age, why do they die at all? Out in the wild, the ants probably don't live for a full 140 days, thanks to predators, disease, and just being in an environment that is much harsher than the comforts of the lab. The lucky ants that do live into old age may suffer a steep decline just before dying. Giraldo says, but she can't say for sure because her study wasn't designed to follow an ant's final moments. It will be important to extend these findings to other species of social insects, says Jeannie E. Robinson, and entomologist at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Champaign. This ant might be unique, or it might represent a broader pattern among other social bugs, with possible clues to the signs of aging in larger animals. Either way, it seems that for these ants, age really doesn't matter. Now, see, the questions are to test for questions 1 to 8. To complete the notes below, choose one word only. This is very important. One word only from the passage for each answer. Write your answer in this box 1 to 8 on your answer sheet. Okay, when they say word, so it should be word. Okay. It is better that you should write for not digit. So let's see, write your answers. Okay, this is a Sable Giraldo's research focused on a total of 4 different age groups of ants, analyzing behavior, how well ants looked after their young. Okay, their ability to locate food using a scent trail, the effect that light had on them, the effects that light had on them, how aggressively they attacked the prey. About the brains, a comparison between age and the location of dyne cells in the brains of ants, condition of synaptic complexes, areas in which neurons meet in the brain's mushroom bodies, level of 2 chemicals in the brain associated with aging. Then you see questions 9 to 13. Do the following statements agree with the information given in reading passage 1? In boxes 9 to 13 on your answer sheet, right? True, false, not given. True if the statement agrees with the information. False if the statement contradicts the information. Not given if there is no information on this. Now we see Fido dentata. Fido dentata ants are the only known animals which remain active for almost their whole life. False. Sebel Giraldo was the first person to study Fido dentata ants using precise data about the insect's age. True. The ants in Giraldo's experiments behaved as she had predicted that they would. 12, the recent studies of these bees use different methods of measuring age-related decline. False. Fidel dentata ants, Fidel dentata ants kept in laboratory conditions tend to live longer lives, not given.